Imagine hearing this. The idea that we are temporary residents already raises an intriguing question. What does it mean to be just passing through? Why are we here? And where do we go when our journey on Earth ends? In this video, we will explore a letter full of meaning and reflection. A letter written by the Apostle Peter for those whom he saw as merely travelers in this world, souls with a higher destiny. He begins his letter saying, "To the temporary residents, to the chosen." He knew that, although we are here, our existence goes beyond the years we spend on this planet. Peter uses a metaphor that still resonates deeply in our days. Temporary residents scattered throughout the world. He was writing to the Christians of his time, many of whom faced persecution and hardships, and lived scattered across various cities and provinces, far from their homes. Peter called them this, reminding them that their true home was not this fleeting world, but something eternal, a heavenly hope. The metaphor reminds us that all of us are temporary on this planet, and by seeing ourselves as such, we realize that everything here, our life, our achievements, the possessions we accumulate, is fleeting. So what does it mean then to live as a temporary resident? But before we reflect together on this question, remember to subscribe to the channel and like the video, so that this message reaches more people who, like you, seek to live with purpose. Peter wrote this letter to encourage Christians who were scattered across different regions of the ancient world: Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia. Each of these regions had its own traditions, cultures, and challenges that tested the faith and resilience of these followers of Christ. In each place, they were confronted with cultural pressures, prejudice, and often intense persecution. These Christians faced a hostile environment where a faith-driven lifestyle was frequently misunderstood and met with distrust. These people lived amid communities that in many cases rejected their beliefs and way of life. Recognizing this isolation, Peter wrote a powerful message, reminding them that although distant and physically dispersed, they shared something deeper and essential: the promise of a spiritual homeland, an eternal home that transcends any boundary or obstacle in this world. He wanted them to know that despite the distance, they belonged to the same community of faith and purpose. Their true dwelling was not defined by the place they temporarily inhabited, but by an eternal dimension beside God. Peter encouraged them to see this invisible reality, to realize that, even geographically separated, they were united spiritually as one people, called to a higher destiny. This reminder of belonging and fellowship was crucial for those Christians. Peter wanted them to feel connected, members of a great family of faith, scattered but inseparably united by something beyond circumstances. By reminding them that they were chosen for something greater, Peter highlighted that their true identity was not in the places where they lived, but in the deep faith they carried. This spiritual identity created an eternal bond, an unbreakable union with God and each other, even in the face of adversity. Peter's letter not only offered consolation, it also strengthened the spirit of the Christians, inviting them to keep their gaze fixed on God's promise. He reminded them that their journey on earth was brief and full of trials, but beyond that was an eternal destiny, a true home awaiting them in communion with God. This celestial perspective helped them find the strength to persevere through difficulties, reinforcing their resolve to continue on the spiritual path with courage. This hope of a true home brought a profound peace and renewed strength to Christians. Even dispersed, persecuted, or misunderstood, they were united by spiritual communion. This bond was like an anchor, keeping them firm amid life's storms. They were one people, a community of chosen ones, whose sense of belonging and purpose gave them resilience to face any adversity. For Peter, the promised homeland was not an earthly place, but a divine promise that transcended physical and temporal limitations. It was the assurance of an eternal life beside God, a glorious destiny that went far beyond the temporary tribulations of the world. So, he encouraged them to persevere in faith and keep hope alive, reminding them that while on earth, they could live united in spirit, sustained by God's promise. Although Peter wrote his letter for Christians of a specific time and place, the message resonates powerfully to this day. In our society, it is common to feel a sense of disconnection and to question our identity, purpose, and the meaning of our existence in this vast and complex world. Often, we seek something that goes beyond the material and immediate, a deeper reason for our lives. The idea of being temporary residents in this world, as Peter suggests, reminds us that although we are here now, our presence is temporary. This awareness does not diminish us. Instead, it invites us to see life in a new light. Understanding that we are just passing through allows us to free our identity from attachment to material achievements and possessions. By referring to Christians as temporary residents, Peter reveals a deeper spiritual truth. Our essence is eternal and does not belong to the transient world. He reminds us that life here is just a phase of a greater journey, bringing us closer to a divine and lasting reality, which invites us to reflect on what truly matters. This concept of temporariness connects us with something grander, putting us in touch with a purpose that transcends immediate concerns and passing values. Peter invites us to see life as part of a higher calling, a spiritual mission that drives us to seek deeper meaning in everything we do. This understanding does not mean ignoring the challenges and responsibilities of the present. On the contrary, it inspires us to face them with the awareness that our life here is a preparation, an opportunity to shape our faith and strengthen our connection with God and the eternal. This focus on the transcendent helps us see our experiences and actions as part of a greater plan. When Peter calls us chosen, he speaks of an intentional choice, an invitation to a transformed life, guided by elevated values and a deeper understanding of our purpose. Being chosen is not a designation of status, but a call to a life of meaning, commitment, and responsibility to faith and to our fellow humans. This divine choice challenges us to seek a life that does not yield to the pressures and expectations of the world. Instead, we are called to align our lives with values that reflect God's love, peace, and justice. To be chosen, then, is to respond to this call with personal transformation, a decision to live according to the purpose given to us. By accepting that we are temporary and chosen for something greater, our life gains a new sense of clarity that does not depend on circumstances. We begin to live with more intention, with joy and hope that transcend challenges. This understanding strengthens and inspires us to live fully, knowing that our brief journey here echoes in eternity and brings us closer to our true spiritual home. What does it mean, after all, to be chosen? Peter speaks of the foreknowledge of God, the divine capacity to know every detail of our lives before we are even born. This vision reminds us that our existence is not an accident nor a coincidence. From the beginning, God already knew who we would be, the paths we would take, and the purpose He wanted us to fulfill. To be chosen, therefore, is not something random. It is a special calling, a personal mission that carries within it the divine purpose and God's careful hand over our journey. This choice reminds us that He predestined us for a life marked by faith, a journey that reveals His presence and His perfect plan for us. Being chosen, however, involves more than an honor. It brings a profound responsibility. Peter makes it clear that this choice is not merely an advantage or an unintentional privilege, but a serious commitment that requires sanctification, a continuous effort to draw closer to God in our behavior and values. He explains that we were chosen to be obedient and to receive the sprinkling of the blood of Jesus Christ. This language, rich in symbolism, recalls the priestly system of the Old Testament, in which the sprinkling of blood was used to consecrate the people and priests, sealing a sacred covenant with God. In the context of the New Covenant, Jesus Christ is the high priest who purifies and consecrates us for a spiritual mission, making us part of his eternal plan. The sprinkling of Christ's blood, then, is not merely a rite. It symbolizes a commitment and an unbreakable bond between God and those who are called. This sacred act purifies and transforms us, inviting us to live a life dedicated to divine service, aligned with God's purposes. To be chosen by Him makes us not only followers, but active participants in His work, called to reflect His love and presence through our actions, and to express His purpose in our lives. For Peter, being chosen means adopting the mindset of a heavenly priesthood. This implies that our lives must be a visible expression of divine holiness and truth, manifested through continuous service to God and to others. Living as part of a heavenly priesthood is a call to integrity, generosity, and peace in our values, reflecting these attributes in every area of life. Each act and each choice becomes a reflection of divine light, a demonstration of God's love and faithfulness for everyone. Today, living as chosen is far more than bearing a spiritual title. It is a way of life that demands a constant and deep transformation, a commitment to personal growth and service to others. It reminds us that our existence is not limited by time or the material world. Instead, we are engaged in an eternal mission that surpasses space and time, a mission that points to God's love and to Christ's example, which teaches us to love and serve unconditionally. This calling sanctifies us, drawing us to live a life ever closer to divine values. It strengthens us, giving us the assurance that, in every challenge, we are accompanied and guided by God. This calling inspires us to live with purpose, to be intentional in our attitudes, in our words, and in how we treat others. Each action becomes an opportunity to mirror the character of Christ, who lived and died with unconditional love and an unwavering commitment to God's purpose. To be chosen is, above all, a journey of faith and action. It is an invitation to participate in something much greater than ourselves, to be a source of light and hope, and a living representation of the divine love that impacts the lives around us. This calling transforms, strengthens, and guides us, making our lives fuller and more meaningful, aligned with the plan that God has designed for each of us from the beginning. Peter wishes peace and grace for Christians, two virtues he considers essential to spiritual life. The peace he mentions is not just the absence of conflict or problems. It is a deep inner peace that prevails in the face of difficulties and finds its roots in trust in God. This serenity stems from faith and confidence in the divine plan, offering a state of mind that allows us to face any situation with the certainty that we are held by God's love and care. Peter understands that this peace is not based on a life without challenges, but on unwavering trust in God, who sustains us in all circumstances. Along with peace, Peter wishes Christians grace, a divine force that not only comforts, but also strengthens, especially in times of trial. Grace is an unearned gift from God that renews and enables us to face difficult moments with faith and perseverance. Peter knows that to live according to God's calling, Christians need this grace that restores and transforms, giving us the capacity to endure trials with dignity and hope. For Peter, living in accordance with God's teachings is much more than following rules. It is an expression of love and trust. This obedience, in this context, means placing God's will above our own, a gesture of humility that reminds us we are part of something much greater. True obedience, as Peter sees it, is to trust God enough to surrender our desires, fears, and concerns to Him. This trust teaches us to live with a peace that transcends circumstances, a peace rooted in God's love and faithfulness. A central pillar of Peter's message is the heavenly hope, a promise that our life on earth is temporary, and that beyond this world lies something incomparably greater awaiting us. He describes this hope as a living hope, a force that transcends earthly life and points to a heavenly home, an eternal place beside God. This promise of eternal life is what guides and sustains the chosen, reminding us that no matter how challenging our journey may be, something infinitely greater awaits us. For the early Christians, this hope was a powerful source of courage and endurance. Many faced severe persecution, marginalization, and isolation. Knowing that faith guaranteed them an eternal future with God gave them the strength to press on, even when everything around them seemed bleak. This living hope functioned as a spiritual anchor, keeping them steady and helping them keep their eyes fixed on God, lifting their spirits in the face of difficulties. Today, this same hope continues to resonate with us, reminding us not to cling to what is fleeting, but to focus on what is eternal and truly significant. In a society that values immediacy and the here and now, Peter invites us to look beyond, to see that our earthly life is only a stage in a much larger journey. He reminds us that our true vocation is to live according to a purpose that surpasses the limitations and worries of this world, aligning our lives with a heavenly reality and an eternal purpose that connects us to God. This hope shapes our way of life, bringing a deeper sense and an unshakable confidence that sustains us in difficult times. It teaches us to approach life with purpose, knowing that we are just passing through this world, but our true journey is towards God. With this living hope, we come to see every challenge and every victory as part of a greater plan, inspiring us to live in a way that reflects God's love, peace, and grace in everything we do. In the end, living with purpose is more than just going through the days or achieving personal goals. It means understanding that our existence has a profound meaning, a mission that transcends time and space. Peter reminds us that, as Christians, we are called to live a life marked by eternity. Being chosen for a heavenly priesthood means that our presence on earth is not by chance. We were placed here to fulfill a greater purpose, a plan that echoes beyond our human understanding. Living as temporary residents helps us to see life from a new perspective. Although our stay is brief, it holds immeasurable value. We can leave a lasting impact, and for that, we need to ask, how are we using our time, our talents, and our relationships? Are we building something that echoes beyond this life? Are we leaving a legacy of love, hope, faith, and truth? These questions help us reevaluate what truly matters, inspiring us to live with the intention of being light and hope in this world. This awareness of a greater purpose makes us see each day as a unique opportunity. Every choice, action, and word is a chance to live according to the purpose that God has designated for us. Peter teaches us that the heavenly priesthood is not about a high position, but, above all, a call to service. Living with purpose means dedicating ourselves to others with love and compassion. It means building, supporting, and demonstrating integrity. It is a life that reflects the peace and security we find in God, showing His presence within us. When we live with this awareness of purpose, we realize that our struggles, hardships, and victories are part of something greater. Nothing is wasted. Every challenge we face and every victory we achieve brings us closer to God, teaching us to rely on Him. Living with purpose is knowing that even in the most difficult times, we are building something eternal. This something is a reflection of our faith and our hope in our true home, a spiritual home that God has prepared for His chosen ones. This purpose-driven life allows us to keep our focus on what is essential. Instead of getting caught up in distractions and fleeting values, we are moved to seek what is lasting and meaningful. We want to live in a way that expresses the love, peace, and hope that God has instilled in our hearts. The concept of a heavenly priesthood reinforces that our role is to serve and love, to care for others and the world around us. By aligning our life with this greater purpose, we feel that our time on earth makes sense. Each day is a new chance to live for something that transcends the immediate, to contribute positively, and to reflect divine light in the world. Even knowing that our stay here is brief, we can live with the conviction that our true home is with God, and that our work here is a preparation for the eternity that awaits us. When Peter calls us to live with this perspective, he encourages us to value every small act, to find meaning in each gesture, and to remember that we are called to live in a unique way. Our life becomes a testimony to this living hope, proof that we live not only for the present, but for an eternal promise that draws us closer to God. Living as a temporary resident is, above all, a way of recognizing that our earthly life is preparation for something far greater, and that our values and actions should reflect the eternity that awaits us. Peter reminds us that while we are here, our mission is to draw closer to God, seeking a life that transcends the material world and focuses on what is spiritual and eternal. This means cultivating a perspective that values not possessions and temporary achievements, but the legacy of love, faith, and positive impact we leave in the lives of others. We can visualize this idea through a simple example. Imagine a person who spends their entire life focused on accumulating wealth and recognition. They work tirelessly, achieving positions, possessions, and an admirable reputation. Yet, at the end of their life, when they look back, they realize that these things they valued so much were limited to the material realm. On the other hand, consider someone who invests their time and energy in building meaningful relationships, helping others, and sharing their faith. This person may also have their accomplishments, but they become secondary to the love, kindness, and spiritual legacy they leave for those who remain. This second example illustrates Peter's vision well. When we understand that we are here for a limited time and that our true home is with God, we begin to live so that every action has an eternal purpose. We approach our daily activities not just as tasks to complete, but as opportunities to express God's love and compassion. This understanding frees us from the pressure of comparison and the search for recognition. We begin to seek divine approval and dedicate ourselves to a greater good. This perspective manifests itself in small daily actions. Imagine, for example, someone who notices a person in need and decides to help without expecting anything in return. It could be a coworker facing difficulties, or even a stranger on the street. By offering support and a gesture of kindness, this person fulfills a purpose that goes beyond immediate gain. They express God's goodness, leaving a mark of hope. This simple yet genuine act is a small seed planted in someone's heart that can grow and multiply, inspiring further acts of compassion and faith. Peter teaches us that living as temporary residents helps us keep our focus on what truly matters. Modern life often leads us to think that success is measured by how much we accumulate or how admired we are. But according to this biblical vision, our worth and purpose are not defined by these factors. God calls us to be a light in the world, to spread the peace and hope we receive from Him. This calling can be answered in any environment, within family, at work, or among friends. If this video has inspired you to reflect on your purpose, please like and share so that more people can join this path. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to always have access to content that strengthens your faith and nourishes your soul. Here, you will find support and messages that will help you live according to the divine mission entrusted to you.